Have you ever noticed that some people are insanely obsessed with certain ideas? In fact, they'll have ridiculous and nonsensical things that they just want to throw out there in the world and demand that you go along with it. Today, I, J. Dylan Proctor, thank you for joining me, am here with a special guest in the studio. I've got Mr. Franklin here to have a great conversation with me.
Yep, that's me.
And Frankie's going to be sharing a short story with us. I don't know if he's ready for that or not. And we're going to be talking about what type of man you actually are. Are you someone who defends what is good, true, and beautiful? Or are you someone who just insists that everybody goes along with the insensate nonsense of the world around you? So, with all that being a really strange and awkward introduction, Frankie, why don't you walk us through this short story? It has something really hilarious to do with vegans and meat and poison ivy, which are all great things to talk about.
All right. So this short story that I made
For
a
class.
couple days ago,
I'm very proud of.
I homeschool with Dylan, and he instructed me to write this story. And out of the depths of my mind, it goes like this. In a field far away from society, friends were having a picnic. All the friends were vegan except one. There were 5 friends in total. Everything was going great and everything was going good. But the one meat eater, the one non-vegan, he feels something horrible. He feels an asphyxiating feeling all throughout his bones. And just like that happens, poison ivy shoots out of the ground and latches around their necks and hoists them up into the air. The meat eater is like so shocked by all of this. He's kicking and screaming at the vines. He's clawing at them and tearing them. And what stops him isn't that he runs out of energy. It's that all his vegan friends tell him to stop. They hurl a bunch of insults at him. And he's like, yo, why aren't you trying to escape? Why are you insulting me for trying to escape? And they go a little something like this. The plants are our friends. We do not hurt the plants. You will not hurt the plants. You are no longer my friend. And this just makes him unbelievably mad. He gets an infatigable rage inside of him and escapes from the plants, the poison ivy, leaving his new enemies to die. And he sets out on a quest to end a vegan diet. All right, going back to Dylan. What do you gotta say about that?
That is an absolutely amazing short story. If I could give a top A+ to a short story, this is the one that is truly near and dear to my heart, and actually taps into a lot of very serious things. Like, first of all, we all know that this is a fantasy story. If there is one man who eats meat and he's friends with vegans, we all know this is in the realm of fantasy because nobody's having a good time at that picnic, right?
That's just not going to happen.
That's just not going to happen. Not
Impossible.
happening. Not possible. But also, what you find here is that the vegans would rather be choked to death by poison ivy that's turned into some sort of intelligent monster. You've got like the vegetable man, the poison ivy man has come to life and he's choking these people to death. And they would rather be choked to death than have the poison ivy monster hurt. Even though, of course, poison ivy, it has the reishi oil on it. It comes to give you a really bad rash and all that stuff, right? There's actually a lot of truth to that. And the serious conversation to be brought from this, and I really am, everybody should give a top grade to Mr. Franklin over there for that lovely story, because it is a very, very lovely story, if I may say so myself. But what you find in life, when I was a young man, I heard this piece of advice, and I was a little bit resistant to it at first because of how fatal and kind of permanent it was. But I heard this piece of advice that in life you only get 3 types of leaders. And this, of course, means 3 types of men. And if you're out there listening to this, you have to choose, who am I? What am I of these 3 categories? And the 3 categories are groupies, gangsters, and crusaders. And going through the 3 of these, groupies are basically people who just want to have a name for themselves. They want to have a seat at the table. They think it's really important that they have a voice that is heard, that they have a seat at the table. And as far as leaders and men they might go, they're not really people who are going to lay down their life for morality. They're not people who are going to defend anyone else. They're really just here to get their own name and pat on the back. So if they experience any sort of discomfort, it's just them trying to make another name for themselves. They really want to be popular and be liked. But they're usually not terribly skilled at running a lot of things. Those are the groupies. People who just really want to be called, like in the minister world, people who really want to be called pastor. They really want to have a doctorate or just a bunch of letters behind their name. But they may not be that skilled and articulate. Regardless of what field you're in, whether you're working construction, whether you're somebody who's even retired, you've probably met people in your life who really just want to have people like them, and that's what they're after. That's the groupieism. Second, you got gangsters. Gangsters are people who are here for good business. A lot of times you might say they're motivated by money, but sometimes it's just power or influence, which are separate. Sometimes people just like having a lot of respect, but the gangsters actually are good at managing things. They're not just the groupies who want a name. They're actually people who are quite good at managing business. Now, with the gangsters, there are a lot more serious people, right? Because you think of gangsters and you have like families between, you've got one old family fighting this, new family that's come in town, but they both want good business. So you're not going to see a lot of bloodshed in the street unless one family's trying to kick out the other. This is kind of your typical politician, again, whether it be politicians in the church, politicians in the political world, or just people in any business you can think of. But they're people who are motivated by good business, and they're not going to shed any blood for principle. They're only going to shed blood if it's threatening the good business. Like, we're here for the money, the power, the influence. We're here to protect the establishment. And you find, again, whether it's the medical establishment, priesthood establishment, government establishment, you always find that even in construction businesses, you have the establishment. The gangsters are the establishment people who are here to protect the institutions. They don't really care what morality is going on, as long as everything is within their grasp and in their control. Final group you get are the crusaders. The crusaders are the people who are here to make a point. They don't care if they get their name recognized for it. They don't care if they're really successful in the long term. They don't care if they even live to see another day, though they may, but they're the people who are here just to make a point. And these are the people who historically make all the difference in the world. And what you often find throughout history, and when you look at the great biblical heroes, whether it be a Nehemiah or even an Esther or a Moses or an Elijah or Elisha, these are all crusader people. They're here to make a point. The mode, the style, they don't really care that much about. The tone, the attitude, they don't care about that stuff. All that's gangster stuff, the tone, the style. That's gangsterism and groupieism. But the crusaders, they're just here to make a point. And historically, you don't have a lot of crusaders for the course of good. You tend to have a lot of crusaders for the course of evil, and that's kind of where the veganism falls in. And I loved Frankie's short story, and I've kind of given my little commentary on it. Ask a commentator. I can speak. Not totally inept over here. But Frankie, you have any other thoughts on this before we wrap this up and let people listen to your lovely vegan story?
They already listened to my lovely vegan story.
Yeah, you may have something you want to add to it.
Well, there's also many more morals, and
Like,
one of
don't
them,
be
of
a
course, is don't be vegan. Being vegan sucks. In fact, it sucks so much that, did you hear the story about the lady who fed her 2-year-old child a strict vegetable diet?
No.
And this happened in Florida, by the way, and the child died.
Oh, no, I didn't hear about that.
The child died of malnutrition, and she got charged with a life sentence in court.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that. But there is a problem with nutrition in our society, kind of, which I know Frankie's also doing the good work of running all the cameras and microphones and stuff around here. But we haven't actually, like, what's funny is the modern world, we think we have progressed beyond all the old warnings, like gluttony. We don't care. Like, that's an agricultural problem, people eating too much.
Bro, that's at Sonic.
Dude, that's it. That's right. That's it, Sonic. We should be more sensitive to sins like gluttony and diet than the people of the past, because, again, one of the things that you find, that even if you take like an apple, like there's been several times this has been found, you take like an apple or an orange and you look at the nutrition, like the nutritional value has gone down. Like a lot of the processed food, the value has gone down. You even look at milk, and like the lactose-free milk, it'll tell you it's lactose-free. It's not lactose-free. They actually just put the lactose enzyme inside the milk because again, people that are lactose intolerant, they don't have the enzyme inside them to process the lactose, so they just add that enzyme to the milk. So it's actually got an additive to it, not a subtraction. You'll see this on that actual side of the milk jug, by the way. And we've got all these chemicals, these hormones and stuff put in our food, and it's had a serious impact on people's bodies. Like, you can go back and look at the pictures. We're extremely unhealthy, and that affects people psychologically. That affects people, physically. It affects people so many ways. And we're in this place where we're utterly being derailed, and we basically live in the matrix, and the food actually has a lot to do with that. Right?
That's funny that you say we live in the matrix. Do you know who else says that?
Who?
So there's this one canceled influencer called Andrew Tate.
Oh, no.
Have you heard that word?
I do know. Your sister has introduced me to Andrew Tate. I've never watched a full Andrew Tate thing, which I don't watch anything anymore, so.
Mm-hmm.
But I am aware of who he is. And he was actually saying some pretty based stuff. I don't know the full of it. Like I said, I've never seen a full, program with him, so I don't know. But he was speaking some raw facts to people. He would say things like, you've lived all your ancestors struggled throughout history.
And you guys are the first ones who are comfortable.
And like, you people are going to choose not to have kids or go do something sexually degenerate and basically throw your whole bloodline away. That's a true problem, right? The people in the past did things they thought in terms of generations. They did things that mattered beyond their lifetime. Now we think in terms of my lifetime. We do things that only matter for a short portion of our lifetime. And it's utterly destructive, right? You even think about all the great biblical values. You look somewhere like Philippians 4:8, whatsoever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is just, whatever is clean, whatever is lovely, whatever is venerable, what is of good report and worthy of praise, pursue on these things. All of that's removed from our society, and you're now encouraged to be your most base and carnal self. We've totally removed the organ of shame, and it's really, really destructive. And it's by design, by the way. And it's even by design that people are less worried with gluttony than they are people in the past. And of course it goes for like pride, vanity, all this stuff too, all the sins. We think we've evolved beyond them, when in fact we are incredibly gullible and very susceptible to them.
Mm-hmm.
Any final thoughts, Frankie? Nutrition is important, like actually learning to survive. Getting out of the matrix has a lot to do with the food too, right?
Mm-hmm. It does have a lot to do with the food. And when Andrew Tate says escaping the matrix, he means escaping the spirit of the age.
Yeah.
If you know by that.
Yeah, the biblical language.
But for someone who's not biblical and someone who's never heard that, it means escaping the normal life. Most people, they wake up, they go to work, they come back, watch the game, drink a couple beers, wake up hungover, and then do the same thing again until Monday, till Friday. And then they live their whole way like that, just awfully, and then they retire and die.
Yeah, and there's no meaning in that.
There's no meaning in that, and they wonder why depression's so high right now.
Yeah.
And why people are so unhappy.
See, the modern world is designed to make you depressed. Right? All the ethics. And see, this is the thing. We were warned in the church. You find places like 1 Timothy 1, which says, people who want to be teachers of the law, they're affirming things they don't understand. The church, and again, obviously I'm a minister. I love the real church of Christ Jesus. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing. But you have the church, which is the real church, and then you kind of have the academy. You have the bureaucracies and things within the church. The smart people who thought they were beyond belief, that they could take Christianity and replace it with kind of this smarter commentary-based, we don't need any mysteries or miracles or anything majestic. We just need, really intelligent historical criticisms and things of that nature. The modern church thought it could redefine the world, not as battles of good and evil, but as battles of oppression and socioeconomic problems. And you find all this idea that we can create a more equitable world, like the social justice template. And what's funny is you can look at all these things, take 10 people that look different, have different backgrounds, men and women, young, old, different ethnicities. You get a whole collection of people, give them all the same money, give them all the same houses, and then ask yourself which of them are happy. You can't figure that out from that question, can you?
There's not enough information.
There's not enough information because none of those things actually matter in the course of happiness, right? Like you can tear people down by crushing them, financially, but you can't build people up by giving them finances or some sort of social program, by sending them to a counselor. The only way you can actually build people up is if you tap into the soul. It's amazing. Jesus does not come to do social programs. Jesus comes to win the battle between light and dark. He comes to heal people, to repair families, to set people free from the bondage of sin, because that actually is what helps people put their head down at night. You can take someone, free them from slavery in Egypt, and they'll turn around and beg to go back. This is a biblical fact. And that does not mean that the slavery in Egypt was in any way good. It was heinous and miserable. But to really transform people, you have to tap into the soul. You have to awaken the eyes, to not pursue the ugly and the hideous anymore, but to pursue the good and the true and the beautiful. And our modern ethic, the church thought that we could better sell Christianity not on the lines of good and evil and sin and holiness, but rather on the social programs and the power struggles and all of that stuff. And what we ended up doing is affirming this matrix where men are no longer men, women are no longer women. And we say, well, you don't need a family. You don't need to follow these ancient traditions because they're just ancient cultural phenomena. They're not actually things which are eternal and true. And we set a bunch of young people up to be utterly miserable. We've lost our ability to argue and reason because we've lost sight of the first thing. We have severed our conscience as a nation. Like we really live in the matrix. The scriptures, this is 1 Timothy 4, they tell you can sever your conscience. Conscience doesn't just mean your morals. Conscience means your connection, conscience. Con meaning with, science meaning knowledge. You can sever your connection with the higher knowledge. You can sever your connection with the Holy Spirit, and we've done that as a nation. And I would say, tragically, a lot of the church institutions, our academies, our bureaucracies, they too have severed their conscience. And it's because we're afraid to speak the truth. We don't want to be unmade by it. We don't want to go to the cusp of it all and learn that truth goes where it goes. That you actually should care about what you eat. You should seek to repair things. We don't do that. We don't have crusaders anymore for the light. We only have gangsters and groupies for the light, by and large. Kind of going back to that. And all the crusaders are on the other side, right? Like they have a very high faith. A lot of the vegan people do, and it's very, very, very tragic.
It's not saying that the vegan people are bad people themselves. It's just that the belief that they have that only eating plants can save the planet, and that meat is bad for everything. Meat's bad for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, and so, it's, right, they do need to be redeemed, right? That's the thing, is there's a real maturity that says these lost souls have to be redeemed. That's the great wager of Christianity. You were bought at a very high price, and now you have to go out and do the work of bringing people back. And what you find, and even, again, like the modern phony but prevalent Christian ethic is very worldly in nature. Like people are very pro-globalism, right? Like it's in the name globalism that's worldliness. And they have it in their head, well, having national borders means you hate or despise the people on the other side. They forgot that evil is real. And the reason of national borders, and this is even what you find with God in Babel in Genesis chapter 11, it's very little to do with the specific citizens of any given nation and very much to do with the magnitude of evil. You want there to be a limit to one emperor so that his kingdom does not spread tyranny all over the earth. It's limited to whatever nation he has. You don't want a global empire. Whenever you see global figures conspiring with one another, they do evil. They don't do good. You have national borders, again, for restraining evil. But we live in this world where people don't understand that. And even the things that they think are mercy, they think are kindness, they don't understand, again, places like a border, the amount of horrific rape and just violent things that go on there is unreal. That's not the merciful way to actually bring people to a place of prosperity. The merciful way is quite complicated, and you can't really do it in mass. You have to do it specifically with individuals. You begin with individual people and you build them up. And we have taken all of our charity and we've perverted it. We've severed it from truth, and now we do a lot of virtue signaling and not a lot of real charity. And it's very tragic because we become so stained that we forget how to do that, but we must. With the people that get lost and wrapped up in these fake ideologies, it is a difficult thing to bring them back, but yet that is what we are called to do. And honestly, like this has got, I haven't done a lot of podcasting here lately, because I'm not sure what the point is of trying to reach people from that distance. I found it so much more meaningful to try to reach people at the personal level than at that greater distance. Like I can like really do a lot of stuff with Mr. Franklin over here, where when you get online, you get a lot of trolls, you get a lot of meaningless things that happen. And a lot of the meaningful things that do happen online, you don't hear from and you don't gauge them very well. So it's difficult to gauge, and that's kind of where I am on that.
So, going back to the evil people who run the world,
The cabal.
the evil cabal. Let's talk about more of their purpose for doing what they're doing and get more into the details of what we were just talking about.
Yeah, I think one of the mistakes that we've made, again, throughout the last 150 years or so, really through the 20th century, the church in the West, especially in America, really shied away from discussing evil. And now, like, we'll talk about idolatry, right? We'll say, well, idolatry is something that you get satisfaction from other than God. It's like, really? Do you think people got satisfaction out of a golden calf? Do you think people got satisfaction when Nebuchadnezzar gives them an edict that says, you bow down at the sound of an orchestra, and if you don't, you'll get thrown into a fire furnace? You think people enjoyed that? History actually tells us a lot of times you see these people forced to bow down to gods. It is done against their will, and it's still idolatry. It's still corrupting to the soul, even if it's against your will. And you also find, I mean, you can even prove this by looking at people who are addicts. People still bow down to things. They grab things, whether it be alcohol, drugs, or, you know, a totem of old. People don't get any satisfaction from it, right? That's kind of the point of sin, is it sells you a false satisfaction. Idolatry has nothing to do with whether or not think you're getting satisfaction about it. The question it has is, are you worshiping something other than God? Are you letting something other than God guide you? And kind of going back to your question about the nature of evil, we've bought this idea that evil is about power, manipulation, oppression, things like that, which are all in and of themselves quite corrupt, but they're not wholehearted evil. They kind of fit into the category of adolescent evil, to use the language of people. Wholehearted evil wants destruction. It wants death. It wants chaos. It absolutely hates the creation that God made. That's a darker malevolence than just power or money. And you're seeing this in the world around us. You see this with companies like Disney or Nike, who will make a decision, or the NFL, or really any of these companies. They'll make a decision that rejects the base they have. Like Hallmark might put out a movie that has, like, you know, the homosexualist couple in there.
When the Hallmark is about girls and
that's not
guys
their
falling
target
in love.
audience, right? That's not their target audience. And they don't care that they're offending their audience. They don't care that hurts their bottom line. They're serving something deeper, something darker. And like the vegan who would rather die being choked alive by poison ivy, the people who are given over to the reprobate minds, to their degeneracy, their hearts are hardened. They will seek something even more severe than power, money, or influence. They will seek the total destruction. You got to understand that real mature hatred is not a fit. It's not an eruption. Real mature hatred has all the patience of eternity, but it's also very instinctive, and it never flinches. Real hatred has an unwant. It does not want what God made. It unwants it. It wants to discard and throw away the things that God has made. Real hatred, it does not want any truth. So therefore, any lie out there, whether it be a lie about what happened on the Titanic, a lie about dinosaurs, it doesn't care. And it even likes it when it's murkiness, where you think something like dinosaurs, you can't tell if they're really true or not. Whatever it matters. It doesn't matter how many layers to the deception there is, as long as there's chaos and uncertainty. That always bends to the favor of evil. The kingdom of heaven will not move without clarity, but the abyss of hell loves murkiness. And now, see, we who are kind of stuck in the middle here on earth, we wonder to ourselves, when there is uncertainty in the world, what do? The world has trained us that there's uncertainty, there's some illness which is around. We say, oh, well, we can't make a decision because we might choose wrong. The modern ethic tells us because there is nuance, we must be timid. But that's actually entirely backwards. It's because there's nuance that you must draw the lines all the more.
Going back to that hatred, because you said real hatred wants to unmake everything that God made.
Yes.
And the people who control society, the people who control what everybody thinks, the movies, people who control social media, are you saying that they're doing it to just make people dumb, just make them unhappy just because they hate them? Because it goes along with their agenda.
This is what I'm going to say. And actually, Frankie, you're really good at interviewing people, by the way. This is really fun.
First time.
This is really fun. The prepositions of these people are down. Again, go back to your high school literature class. What are the prepositions? Where can a mouse go? Up the tree, around the tree, beside the tree. Prepositions in life matter a lot. Like a lot. You're a living thing. There is no idleness in a living thing. Don't feed your dog, you'll starve. Don't move a car, it'll rot. Everything moves up or down. Nothing sits idle, but especially for living things. A dead possum dies, or a possum dies, and the dead possum won't remain in that state for long. It'll very quickly stink and liquefy. Life is either moving up or down. There really is no static neutrality. But people who think there is a static neutrality are very hard to convince. But anyways, there's no static neutrality. All of the prepositions of the cabal are downward. You think about the sexual ethic that's put on people today, it's downward. Don't have kids. Don't do the things that will actually give you meaning in the end. Do something to yourself that permanently messes up your life and ability to have relationships with people. To join in marriage and have that unique love between you and your wife. Pollute that before you get there. So there's always some hanging question. There might be someone that you liked better, or some other memory you have. There's always something in the modern world to pollute all of these things.
I really want to dive into something real quick.
What's that?
I want to dive into sexist marriage laws and divorce laws. So, let me think about this for a second. When two people get married and they start to have issues and they're having problems, there is no incentive for the woman to stay in this relationship.
Yeah.
Because why would she want to stay with you when there's so many other people she could be with?
Yeah.
And why would she want to stay with you if she could have 50% of your stuff? She doesn't like you. She wants to be somewhere else. She is incentivized to get rid of you. And she is incentivized to raise kids all by herself, which mess her up, mess the kids up, and just mess society up as a whole, because those are the people who are going to be repeating and making future generations.
To address this, I want to tell a story. At church, we always take beach binge trips. It's a little amusement park. It's got a nice water park. I love to go there and do the lazy river. It's fun. Used to go there as a kid. The place has been there for a long time. It's like a 100-year-old amusement park. It's a pretty cool place. Love Beach Bend. I went there last summer. We usually take 2 trips a summer. And when I was a teenager, you would see guys goofing off to impress ladies. I mean, they do all kinds of stupid stuff. Maybe they're splashing water. Maybe they're, whipping one another in the pool. Who knows? But, they see the hottie up there, lifeguard, who's their age, and they want to impress her. The girls, they're all huddled together, giggling to themselves because they saw the cutie over there in his shades, and they hope that he really sees her, and they're all too shy to talk. When I went this last summer, I saw one young man the entire time I was there trying to get a lifeguard's number. One.
Just one?
Just one. Again, when I was a teenager, which is only, like a decade ago. Right?
100 years ago.
School. Yeah, 100 years ago. Back in 2009 when I graduated.
Back when the dinosaurs were walking the planet.
Back when the dinosaurs were walking the planet. Guys would stick, the lunch trays under the back of the front-wheel drive car and spin it around the parking lot trying to pick up the ladies. They would drive their loud trucks. They would try to do things that were otherwise stupid, but yet they were connected to the spark of interest between men and women. And now you've had 10 years of men being told you're a sexist, you're a sexual harasser if you want to talk to a lady. And now you've got a whole generation of men who it's like they don't even notice the women around them. One young man at a theme park trying to get the attention of a girl. One. And it was something that once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. Like you would see these guys, like you would still see like, a group of like high school bros floating around. They were doing their thing. They were still doing, some somewhat man things. And you would see the girls floating around, but they were like having two separate creatures there. That weren't even aware of the other's existence. They just kind of had this imaginary line drawn between them. That is horrific. Like, I can't believe the holiness preacher is here to like encourage teenage dating, but we have put, and this goes back to the marriage laws, right? Like, you've taken a whole generation of young men and like, what's the point of marriage anymore? Well, first of all, the point of marriage is not lust. It's not the sexual titillations that I get just from the cute girl, though that spark may be there at the beginning. I know a lot of older couples who have lived long, beautiful lives, and their marriage has given way to something which is mysterious. It's beautiful and poetic, and you can't even put it to words. They might be sitting at the dinner table arguing over who's uglier or something like that. They might be arguing who has the worst habits or something like that, but yet you would never be able to pry them from one another. In their darkest hour, maybe it's severe illness, and they're not even able to bathe themselves, or a lot of things that we kind of like instinctively laugh at because it's kind of gross and we don't want to do it. But yet you see these people taking care of one another, and they have a depth of life that is very rich. It's very meaningful, and it's very beautiful. And when you see things give way to that, it's marvelous. But now everything is wrong. We bark up the wrong tree. We see it all wrong. We're worried about the wrong things. We think that we can have this soft world where you never feel uncomfortable. In Christianity, we want to have, weak, pitiful translations that are all easy and accessible. We tell ourselves we want to make Christ accessible to people. It's like, really? Christ was made accessible. He came down, walked among us on earth. He wasn't soft, though. One of the most inspiring stories I find in the gospel is the thief on the cross. For him to meet Jesus meant he had to be crucified himself. Most people don't respond to the softness. Most people, it takes a very serious, severe moment for them to recognize the truth. It's like a drug addict. They have to hit rock bottom before they want to change. For a lot of the centurions there, they went on their way rolling dice, not taking Jesus serious. It wasn't till the blood is rolling and he's given up his last breath that you have one says, "This is the Son of God." Another looks and says, "Oh my goodness, this man is innocent." It's not till you get to the serious, severe, the painful elements of life that people start to actually see the truth. And beauty itself is found in those difficult moments. To try to make the gospel any more approachable, then you yourself must be crucified next to the Lord to realize what you need to get him. To make it any softer than that, it is going to pollute it and water it down. When it comes to things like marriage, and again, I know I've got Mr. Franklin here, like, you need to pursue marriage.
No.
Because what's going to happen, and it's very different for young men and for young women. It manifests differently, but it is a serious problem in our world that the men are dying and they're not being replaced, and people are being incentivized to throw away their heritage, to throw away their own potential, to be downward, to be basic, to be pitiful, to embrace some sort of desired weakness, and they're not excellent. The scriptures have been crying out to you from the beginning. If you do well, you will be accepted. Be holy and excellent, for I am holy. Do well in every worthwhile pursuit. Do good. You find just places like Micah 6:8. To love mercy, to do justly. This idea of actually loving what is good, true, and beautiful, and we've lost that.
You said that it takes real hardship and real discomfort to really peel back what you thought and really change yourself.
Yes.
And this modern world is so comfortable now.
Yes.
And so people are just going in a downward trajectory.
Yep.
There's no comfort there's no discomfort to wake them up.
Yes. And see, that's the thing, right? A long habit of not feeling pain makes you think that everything is all right. The modern world is meant to give you some medicine to disguise the problems in your life. Oh, you've been degenerate. Now you've contracted a disease. Well, we'll mask that, so you can go and spread that around some more. Or your parents broke it. Not even your fault. Your parents did something horrific to you. They didn't love you. They didn't want you. Well, we're going to give you some sort of antidepressant or something for that. We're going to give you a drug to mask that pain. That wound's not going to get any better, by the way. And again, you're messing with the chemical and hormones in your body, so it's actually going to create a lot of other problems in your life. But you're going to feel better, and you're going to really need the antidote that we give you, which is not the real antidote that'll fix you. The world is very good at insulate. You live in a suburb. You don't have a real adventure in life. Well, here, play a video game.
So I like to think of all that as cope.
It is forms of coping, yeah.
You're deprived of all these things that they want to take away from you because
they don't want you to be alive.
They don't want you to be alive. If you're always coping, and if you're always depressed, and you're always looking for the next thing that will make you feel better to cover up the pain of not having it, and the people in control are the ones administering it, then you'll always be a slave to them, right?
Yes. And again, this is, 2 Peter, I believe it's 2:19, or maybe it's 2:20 or 2:21, but those who sell you this freedom, they themselves are in bondage. This is not real freedom, it's a bondage. But they're like base animals. They don't understand that. They're just moved by instinct. I love your sister introduced me to the Russian poet Yevtushenko. It's very, very good. But he talks about, the price of happiness is not happy, and that's true. And learning to see the good, the true, and the beautiful, to actually have nobility in your life, to have honor, to have things that really bring meaning and satisfaction, right? You have to learn to overcome. Men do not mature simply by, graduating with degrees. The men don't even mature with years of experience, right? I worked real estate when I was myself going through grad school, which I don't recommend that anymore. Going to grad school or anything. But back when I was in grad school and doing real estate, I knew people who were very good real estate agents. And I knew people who were very not so great real estate agents. Some of them had been doing it for 50 years. Some of them been doing it for a few months. And not everybody that had been doing it for decades was actually that good at it. There are a lot of people who have been doing things for a long time, and they're actually not great at what they're doing. Experience doesn't necessarily mature people. Overcoming hardship is what brings maturity to people. Not just suffering the hardship. Like, you've got to know how to suffer, right? You've got to know how to overcome that, not just to succumb to it. We know that with crime, a lot of people who are victims of stuff, say they're molested as children, the chances that they'll do some sort of molestation when they're older actually goes up. Just because you know the pain of a certain suffering means you know the antidote to it. This is also why you have to go to the cross. The only real antidote to all this stuff in the end is the blood of Jesus, the resurrected Lord who breaks forth from the empty tomb. There is no magic wand to clean up these messes. And if you avoid the reality of it, you're going to miss it. If you avoid the hard days, if you've got a loved one who's near the end of their life and you say it's too painful for me to go and visit them, if you avoid the hardship, you're going to miss good days. You can have good times in those difficult days. In fact, I've lived long enough to know that a lot of the difficult days are the best days. And I don't mean that as some troubled artist or something like that. I mean that as like a genuine man who has learned to appreciate the beauty and marvel and majesty of the world around us. Because God made us an awesome and spectacular world. To see the sunset is wonderful. To see the sun rise is wonderful. And yet we miss it because we live in this horrible matrix.
Well, Dylan is a sad artist.
No.
Yeah, he is. Look at him right there.
No, I'm
Look
happy.
at him lying.
Man, I'm going to go outside and start up a 1991 Ford Ranger. I'm going to have a great day.
He was playing his saxophone all sad when I walked in.
Oh.
I heard that, Dylan.
Yeah.
So, going back to overcoming things makes you more
mature,
capable, and more mature.
Yeah.
Like, this all comes back to the matrix, which is imposed upon all of us.
Which, one of the things I found, too, kind of to that, the matrix doesn't even want you to have the opportunity to overcome, right? It wants you to play within a set of rules. And you're more trained to play within the rules than you are to actually do what's important. And by the way, they're not God's rules. It's not like it's the actual commandments of God which will bring you meaning. It's instead the fake rules. They're the pseudo-logon, to use that word out of the Doctrines of Demons, 1 Timothy 4, the untruths. But yeah, no, that's overcoming is very important.
Well, when you play by someone else's rules, you're almost guaranteed to lose. It's like a casino.
You are guaranteed to lose. That's Matthew 11, by the way. You're not going to beat the world at its own game at all, right? Jesus says, to what will I compare this generation? You're out like children in the marketplace saying, we played the flute, Jesus, and you wouldn't dance. We wailed and you wouldn't mourn, Jesus, right? The world wants you to dance and mourn. And a lot of people will. And the past few years have told you that a lot of people will, regardless of how untrue it is. And there's even a lot of people in the church who say, well, we don't want to hurt our witness. So we may have gone along with the lie, or we just didn't know at the time. And that's all rubbish. All throughout Scripture, Jesus does things that have inherent value. You don't see God doing this virtue signal stuff. God does something that is symbolic. Well, not only is it symbolic, but the thing itself has value. Like Jesus gets baptized. We might say, well, that's symbolic. Jesus doesn't need to be baptized. Well, it's like, baptism has inherent value. It's mysterious, has something to do with God's grace. We can't fully explain baptism, but baptism has inherent value. It's not just a random symbol. Jesus casting out a demon. The demon is real. Like, these things are real. They have inherent value. Saving a marriage, the marriage, it is a sacred thing, and there's inherent value in that. Like, these things are inherently good. They're not just symbols. But the modern world thinks everything, is kind of, an allegory, and there's actually no truth in behind it, when in fact, everything is, in fact, an allegory representative of things, but the good and the evil, they are real. They are out there. And when it comes to trying to mature, you have to learn how to fight back the evil. And once you start getting that, once you start learning that victory, it feels pretty good. A man is encouraged to go out and do more when you learn that I can take a punch. I can do more. I can be knocked out. I love reading Michael Strogoff, and the villain Ivan Ogarev says, I'm going to kill you. And Michael says, okay, I can die. Like, I can do that. You're not going to slow me down. I can live with that.
I forgot where I was going to take this, but I had one thing in my mind earlier.
Was it about maturity?
It was about maturity, and then you cut me off, and I was just going to let you talk over it until I now have this opportunity to speak. But I see so many kids stuck inside, and I was over at my grandparents' house a couple days ago, and I was skateboarding, and I met this really, really nice guy. He wanted to be a skater, but he just didn't know where to start. And I could tell that he didn't really go outside much or get really much social interaction. He didn't get that much of anything, because my guess is that he was probably stuck inside playing video games all day, and that deprives you of social interaction. And the only way to get better at social interaction is to fail and overcome the hardships and rejections and get verbally knocked out and things like that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, and throw something at me if I cut you off. I didn't mean to do that. I get excited. Yes, the shoe. And even being physically knocked out, right? You need to learn that you're not made of glass.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how true it is. People have been sending me these, couple 100 years ago, there was supposedly some sort of glass delusion where evidently nobles and influential people in Europe bought the impression that they actually were made of glass, and that's where kind of the phrase. I don't know. I don't know if that's true or somebody just made this up as some sort of historical falsehood or whatever. But people nonetheless buy some ridiculous stuff, right? People will buy into ridiculous stuff, and you need to go out and learn and live. Cool stuff. Fun. Frankie, you're really good at interviewing people. It's actually pretty awesome.
I'm great at interviewing people.
You are.
So I just let you talk.
You just let me talk?
Mm-hmm.
But you got to prop the conversation though, right?
I gotta let you know what to talk about.
Yes.
That's my job.
Yes. There's a lot to talk about.
Cause you're like a big motor. You'll go super fast in one direction. When I gotta steer you around.
You gotta steer me around. It better be either the Cologne V6 and the Rangers or like a 5.0 and old.
I was thinking more like a big ship with a lot of wind, but with no mast or no rudder.
Yeah. Oh my. Yeah, that's bad. That's a wild illustration there. A ship with no mast. Cool. Anything else we want to talk about? This has been fun.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I think we're ready to end it.
Are you gonna make any more short stories with poison ivy versus the vegans?
No, I'll probably make some other analogies, some other references.
We need to maybe, I don't know. That's a really good short story though. I don't know what we need to do with that, but we need to do something with it.
Are we ending it?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you for joining us. I'm Pastor Jalen Proctor, and I've got Mr. Franklin here with me. We may come up with another name for him. God love you, and have a blessed day.